YouTube channels and so-called truth seekers spewing out tall tales about the paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, and all the spooky nonsense they can cram into a late-night broadcast. And look, I love a good mystery. I've been digging into this stuff for years. But you want to know what pisses me off? The grifters, the con artists, the professional storytellers who spin absolute fairy tales with zero evidence and expect you to just swallow it down like a cup of government-issued fluoride water. And don't sit there and say, well, you weren't there. How do you know? I'll tell you how I know. Because it's obvious when a story is pure, unfiltered nonsense. There are patterns, folks. Certain key signs that someone is making it up as they go along. I mean, you can see it. The body language, the inconsistencies, the absurdity of the details. It's not hard to tell when someone is lying. And here's the real kicker. These people are hurting the field. They are holding humanity back. You want the truth about cryptids and about the paranormal. Then we have to weed out the frauds. Maybe it's time we get real legal consequences for fabricating stories. An affidavit before telling a wild claim. You lie, you get charged. Because lying is a disease in this world. And it is keeping us from breaking through to the real truths that are out there. We don't need more noise. We need discernment. So I say to you, do your homework, ask the hard questions, and don't just believe every bearded guy on YouTube talking about how he was chased by Bigfoot but just happened to lose the footage. Wake up. People, the truth is out there, but you got to dig through a mountain of garbage to find it. Listen, people, I'm going to tell you something they don't want you to know. Something so obvious, so right in front of your face that they depend on you being too distracted, too polite, or just too beaten down to say it out loud. These so-called independent media outlets, podcasts, and YouTube channels claim they're all about free speech, truth-seeking, and cutting through the mainstream media's lies. They bill themselves as warriors against the establishment. But let me tell you what's really going on. Most of them don't want you to think. They don't want you to question. And worst of all, they don't want you to call out their guests when they come on and spew absolute nonsense. Who are either completely delusional or outright frauds. They bring on insiders, whistleblowers, and experts who spin ridiculous tales so transparently fake that a child could see through them. But here's where it gets dangerous. You're not allowed to call them out. That's right. You, the audience, the people they claim to be fighting for, are expected to sit there and lap up every word like it's gospel. Never mind that the heensitter making wild claims about underground lizard bases has no proof. Never mind that the whistleblower with the supposed top secret documents never actually shows them. And never mind that the expert they brought on has a track record of being completely wrong every time they open their mouth. Your job is to believe. And if you don't, if you dare to point out the obvious inconsistencies, the contradictions, the blatant lies, if you have the gall to ask, hey, where's the evidence? You're out, banned, silenced. See, podcasts and YouTube channels are businesses first and foremost. They survive on views, clicks, and ad revenue. They don't care about the truth. They care about engagement, and engagement comes from sensationalism, not skepticism. It works like this one. They find a guest willing to spin a wild story. The crazier, the better. 2, they act completely enthralled, nodding along, saying things like, wow, this is incredible. Keep going. 3, they never push back, never challenge, never ask for proof. 4, they tell their audience, look, we're just asking questions. We're just putting the information out there. And even though they never actually investigate or verify anything. 5, they sell merchandise, books, and subscriptions while laughing all the way to the bank. And the moment you point out that their guest is lying, that the emperor has no clothes, boom, you're the problem. This is where it gets sinister, because you might think, hey, it's just a podcast. If I disagree, I'll just say something in the comments or call in to challenge them. Wrong. They expect obedience. You either play along or you're gone. They delete comments that call out inconsistencies. They block and ban users who ask tough questions. They smear skeptics as shills, government agents, or trolls. They avoid debates like the plague because they know their narrative won't hold up under scrutiny. It's a cult mentality. You're not allowed to think for yourself. You're supposed to accept every guest's ridiculous claims at face value, no matter how absurd they sound. Now, let's talk about the quality of these guests, because folks, it's not just that they bring on liars. It's that they bring on the worst liars imaginable. And we're talking about people claim to have personally met interdimensional space beings, but somehow never have a single shred of evidence. Ex-government insiders who can't even keep their own stories straight, contradicting themselves within minutes. Time travelers who claim to be from the future, but can't predict a single real-world event correctly. Whistleblowers who say they have classified documents, but somehow can never produce them because of some vague excuse about being monitored. and grifters who claim to share secret knowledge will only if you buy their course or subscribe to their premium content. And these people aren't just liars, they're bad liars. They can't even make their stories convincing. And yet, if you question them, you're the enemy. This whole charade falls apart the second people start speaking up. That's why they can't afford to let real skeptics have a voice. They know that if even a few people in the audience start asking questions, the illusion crumbles. The house of cards collapses. They need blind faith. They need an audience that just accepts everything without a second thought. Because once one person speaks up, others might start to think, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And they can't have that. So what's the solution? How do you fight back against this scam disguised as high independent media? Simple. Stop being silent. 1. Call out the nonsense whenever you see it. Don't let these frauds operate unchecked. 2. Spread the truth. Share information that exposes their lies. 3. Demand evidence. If a guest makes a wild claim, unhold their feet to the fire. Make them prove it. 4. Support actual skeptics. Follow people who are willing to question everything, including the so-called alternative media. 5. Stop giving them money. Don't buy their books, courses, or exclusive content if they refuse to back up their claims with real proof. Folks, the truth doesn't need protection. It doesn't need censorship. It stands on its own. And that's exactly why these people can't afford to let you question them. Think for yourself. Ask the tough questions. And never let them silence you. They operate narratives, yielding misleading experts, refusing knowledge, all lies, avoiding natural debate. They hide exposure, censoring opposition, never facing examination, speaking smoothly, ignoring objections, navigating all logic. See? Requiring guests on podcasts and YouTube channels to sign an affidavit when sharing unbelievable stories, especially those involving the paranormal and cryptids, is not a bad idea. In fact, it's a solid way to ensure credibility, protect content creators, and maintain integrity within these platforms. By having guests sign a sworn statement confirming their story is true to the best of their knowledge, it discourages blatant fabrication for attention or monetary gain. If someone is caught lying, legal consequences can follow, holding them accountable for spreading falsehoods under the guise of truth. This helps keep podcasts and YouTube channels reputable, preventing them from becoming dumping grounds for baseless hoaxes that diminish the credibility of genuine encounters and researchers in these fields. And the idea isn't about silencing people or restricting storytelling. It's about making sure that those who claim to be telling the truth are doing just that. This way. Now, but these platforms don't contribute to misinformation that keeps humanity stuck in a cycle of deception and distrust. Of course, if a content creator runs a fictional story channel and is transparent about it, then an affidavit isn't necessary. As long as the audience knows what they're getting into, there's no issue. But for those presenting their experiences as factual, a signed affidavit acts as a safeguard, ensuring that only honest accounts make it to the public, keeping the community strong and trustworthy